Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about Canon EOS R3. So let's dive right into it. Now, what is this puppy, Canon R3? Well, this is a 5 lakh rupees camera or $6,000 in USA. So this is an expensive boy. Now, this is a 24 megapixel system. Now, you may be like, in 2021, 24 megapixel for such an expensive camera does not sound impressive. Well, yeah, that is true. But the sole reason why this is at such a weird resolution is that this is Canon made full frame backside illuminated stacked CMOS sensor. Now, only Sony can do that, could have done that so far. Basically this was the bread and butter of A9 series. So Canon generally buys their sensor from multiple manufacturers. This is the what we call in-house. So that's why this sensor is not latest and greatest, but this is like latest and greatest what Canon have done. And because Canon has controlled everything like in-house, they do get more performance out of the same technology. So they get up to 30 fps. Now this is real world 30 fps, meaning you will actually achieve 28 to 9 frame per second reliably, even with R mount lenses. Again, if you put a third party lens, no company is gonna guarantee anything, but 30 fps is almost achievable in this. Now this can go up to 6K because again resolution is not high enough for 8K, so it can go 6K raw recording inside and using compact flash cards. Compact flash express cards, and this can do 4K with 6K downsampling. So it's partial resolution, meaning the actual resolution that you can see would be very good. However, that would be compromised the moment you go above 60 fps, aka 120 fps. If you try to record 120 or 100 fps, it will no longer do that downsampling. So visual fidelity will go down a bit, but it's a really good system. And it also has 5.7 million dots OLED, which to this day I do not understand why the heck camera industry uses million dots and all that. Just use the goddamn resolution. Now, to be fair, if they actually use that, people will be frustrated. It's like, that's how low resolution these things are. These are now this is good. This is almost like a bit bigger than full HD system. So a very good display and very good optical viewfinder. So no, optical, I'm saying basically a very good electronic viewfinder. So this is what Canon can do at this moment in time. So this is like the best Canon can do. So this is a pro end body, highest end system for Canon mirrorless series system. Basically you cannot buy any mirrorless that is above this inside Canon's pipeline. And this is vertically integrated system, so it also uses huge battery. It has a basically networking interface with Ethernet, where you can utilize it to do proper sports photography. Basically this is a pro end tool with pro end price tag. Now this puppy is a bit odd simply because before it even came out, Canon is like, this camera that we are releasing on, it's like, second best. This is not the top camera because this is second from top. Basically R1 would be the top camera. So basically Canon, the number gets smaller and the quality goes higher. So this will be R3. You will have one up, that would be R1. Now R1 would be the latest and greatest which Canon can do. This is second best. So inherently it has some weird quirks around it. Now this is the best camera Canon has made, and if you are happy with Canon system, this will be more than mind-bogglingly enough, basically to a point where you do not need to watch review. If you have used any Canon camera, this can beat that Canon camera. That's the reality of it. And this finally has no recording limit. Awesome. You have to understand this aspect because like I am using Canon camera and I was like this close to buying Canon RP. Now again, you may say like it has 4K crop. I don't want to use 4K. I'm happy with full HD, but I did wanted to have higher than 30-minute recording limit. Now I understood why 30-minute limit was there in olden days, as in like as early as 2016, simply because there was a European Union law in place that's like if you record more than that, you have to pay a penalty. Penalty is simply being you have to pay higher tax bracket. So people understood that, like it made sense. It's like, okay, it will become expensive, so people are like, okay, I'm happy with that. But that law has been revoked long ago. And the moment that law was revoked, Sony started to release even on their cheapest camera, as in Sony a6100 is the cheapest you can go, you will get no recording limit. And again, it could overheat, but there will not be arbitrary limit of 30 minutes. And Canon has never let that go. It's like, it's like, no, we're gonna give you 30-minute recording. Now the primary reason Canon always says is like, if we give 30 minutes, remove that 30-minute limit, nobody will buy our cinema camera because our cinema camera is that bad. It's like that's the only saving point of cinema. I'm being sarcastic here, but you get the point. It's like that was really frustrating for many people. It's like, I want your Canon camera, I want your color science, I am happy with your equipment. Why the heck you have this artificial limit? It made sense when there was a law, but that law has been revoked. This is the first time Canon is not removing that, and it has a 6-hour recording limit. Now why does it has a limit? Because again, it's not a studio camera, and if you are recording more than 2-3 hours continuous video recording, you are doing live streaming that goes that long, please buy Blackmagic studio cameras. Please buy cameras that are specifically built for streaming, because at that kind of a long duration, no, not even Sony can handle that. So this has a 6-hour recording limit, meaning if you are continuously recording, powering it via USB, it will reach a point where it's like 5 hour 59 done. That would be the last system ever. Now, so that is amazing, and it also has flip out screen. It has all the amazing user interface of Canon, so everything is awesome about this camera. If you like any Canon camera, flat out don't worry about it. It's like you can get 8K in R5, but this would be still beat it flat out. So the biggest issue here, because Canon is like themselves like pricing it down, they have dissimilar card. Now this is the biggest issue from a pro point of view, because a professional is never gonna record. It's like, hey, let's put a raw file on CFast Express system and put a JPEG on basically SD card. You're never gonna do that. You're gonna have raw in both of them, and there lies the issue. Because if you have a slow card in a parallel system, the slow card will be the limiting factor, so you'll always be limited by SD card. That is really frustrating, meaning that 30 fps 24 megapixel, awesome, you're doing that, but here's the deal: the moment you do that, you fill up the buffer starts to dump the file. Now CFast Express is like, I got this, fam, don't even worry about it. It's like you just butter, that's just going in, you don't have to think about it. Awesome. But what about the SD card is like, let me catch up. So that's a serious issue, and that's, from a professional point of view, is really weird. It's like, I get it, it's like still manageable, people can live with it, it can be managed, but it's not something that should have been there. So fundamentally, either use 2 SD cards or use 2 CFast Express card, and for this price point, 2 CFast Express card made sense. And people like, you can go to any shop and buy SD cards. The SD card that is available on quote unquote any shop, those are generally very low grade system, and if you have a camera, professional camera, there is a very good chance you have cards for it and backup cards in your bag for it. So this really does not make sense. The only way people can justify that is like, that's they are doing it, so that would be the selling point of R1. It's like, truly unlimited kind of performance. So that is really bad, because this has also created another side effect, where you can record video in both of the system, but you cannot do that with higher frame rates or higher bit rate, simply because SD card cannot keep up. So that was one of the things that is like, Canon is crippling themselves. So it's like, that's way, because this will affect professional shooters. That's why, because you may be like, hey, 30 fps is awesome. Yes, it still needs to clear the goddamn buffer, otherwise like, something is happening, you're like, my buffer is clearing. That will happen because of this. So fundamentally, that does not make sense. Another, micro HDMI is like, dude, why? I have Canon 800D that has micro mini HDMI. That's better compared to micro. Micro is like, this is huge, this camera is huge, and you have this tiny port. Why? Does not make sense. Like, you are focusing on a video, to a point where you're like, this has like clean HDMI output, this has like raw recording, this has this and that. Why the heck you have micro HDMI output? Why? Like, again, I get it, like on a small camera, let's say Canon RP or something like that, I get that. Again, technically not, but I get it. But here you have huge camera. It's like, why? That's really frustrating. And all that being said, it's built like a tank. It is literally built like a tank, and there is a YouTube video, I provided a video down below. There was a person who put it on a drone, was shooting it, and drone crashed. The camera survived. So fundamentally, this is I'm saying, like, if you like any Canon camera, buy this camera, don't even think about it. Condition applied if you can afford it, and you can live with this weird issue. Now this issue, again, many people can work around it, but this is really that's why I'm talking about the fact that they want to release that kind of feature in R1. But this is a really well-suited, hard-built equipment which is supposed to survive almost anything. It also has inbuilt GPS, so you do not have to pair it with your phone. So it's a really good equipment. Now they are introducing 2 new technologies with this puppy. One of the primary talked about one is eye pointer for autofocus control, basically eye control as they're calling it. Now you have to understand, at this point in time, all cameras from Sony and Canon has reached a point where autofocus is good. Meaning, if autofocus locks onto something, you're gonna get good results. So, but issue at this point in time is where to focus. For example, you can have 2 person in your frame of view. Camera can detect there are 2 frames of view. It can select one face only, because you are talking about art aspect of the photography. It does not know what to focus on. You may be like, hey, I want to focus on someone like who's trying to catch up, because that person has more emotions, more and all that. Again, how the heck camera will know that? Camera can know that there's 2% and this person is nearest, I'm gonna get the better picture in this, so he focuses on that. But how the heck you gonna tell the camera to focus on that? Right now we use thumbsticks for that. Those do work, they are awesome, but Canon is like trying to go back to old school, as in like 1970 old school. They were trying to use the basically your eye focus itself. Basically eye looks at something what we call gaze point. So there is a gaze point, like basically it's almost like a thumb at this distance, and it's always moving around. It's like doing like this. So it has infrared emitters that's directly illuminate, is almost like a night vision, and a small camera that's looking at your eye, and that is feeding data and creating this orange circle. Now you have to understand, you may be like, hey, doesn't that mean like it really out of focus all the time, because it's always moving, human eye is never static? Well, Canon thought about this, like that is really well built system, whereas like the gaze point will not affect anything unless you point it somewhere and then you press the shutter button, where it's like activate now, get stuck to this. You have to tell it. So basically it will always be moving, but you have to tell it capture this now or not. So that's really awesome. So basically it's something that you will be like this, and then you press the button, remove the button, press the button, remove the button. So that's how you will control that. So it's really good, and people who have used it, I've provided video on blogs, they have good results with this. And it also has multiple profile, meaning if you have multiple people using the same camera, they can each have their own profiles. That's awesome. And they also have calibration data. So again, the basic calibration is just that basic. You have to fine tune it. So because every person's eye moves such a different, some people have like eyes that are like some people, so camera needs to know that. So you can calibrate it, and generally Canon supposes like anytime you are relying on this, try to calibrate it. The more you calibrate it, the better it gets. So basically more calibration data goes into it, the better the AI algorithm becomes, and more reliably it does its job. And you can do that with multiple profiles. So it's a very well implemented feature. And it also has real-time HDR on basically electronic viewfinder in optical viewfinder mode. So basically if you remove the option of basically seeing the live preview, it will give you real-time HDR. Now you have to understand that the reason why it cannot give you a real-time HDR and the output at the same time is simply because HDR requires 3 exposures, or like 3 data points, where you have 1 under exposed, 1 medium exposed, 1 high exposed. So and collapses all 3, creates the data, and then feeds that to HDR display that is in the viewfinder. That's awesome, but problem is that's not the image that you can capture from the sensor. Because then it has to do the full sensor readout. Then it's a very complicated thing. So fundamentally you have to sacrifice one of the things. Now why Canon is doing this? Well, reality is very simple. Canon knows for the fact that many people will wait for pro end equipment to switch to mirrorless system. Now if people are coming from basically optical viewfinder to this, they will find that it does not look as good as electronic viewfinder. So this real-time HDR should help them along. For people who are used to mirrorless system, they will not use this as much as you would think, but people who are coming from DSLRs right now, they will love this feature, because this will give them that extra pop to for their eyes to adjust to it. Like no, this is electronic, I can get it, then they can switch to more advanced function. This is a what we call bridging kind of tech. And it also has multi-functions too. So this puppy should allow them to directly compete with Sony's offering and even Panasonic's offering, but again Panasonic is not really doing well. And this will have mic. This microphone is now launched in Indian website, and it also has mobile adapter. I really like the idea. The idea is with this puppy is that it can dump the file to your mobile phone utilizing an app, and your mobile phone can dump that data into 5G network. So if you are in a place where you are shooting something, you can utilize your mobile phone to dump the data into 5G network, and then it can go wherever it needs to go. So you can be capturing something, and in real time it can be sent to your headquarters. So that's there. Now again, be mindful, you do not need that adapter to use this function. That adapter is just there so your side function is clear. Otherwise you have to use the side USB-C port. So this basically bypasses that side USB-C port, it uses the on top one. Right now these two functions have been released, and there will be many more, from shutter release to other things. They are planning to make a lot of new changes. So these are the new two techs. So I'm pretty sure the R1 will have this eye control, but I do not suspect this technology to trickle down. However, I do suspect the multifunction to trickle down, because again, anybody using this kind of camera for video recording will not be using such a puny microphone. That's not happening. They're gonna have multiple independent dedicated recording setup. So but anybody using like something like Canon RP, they will love this system. So I can easily say, like in the future, that this trickle downs, like this becomes a thing that this camera introduced. After this, every camera started to have that, every Canon camera. Now we have to compare this puppy to Sony, simply because Sony is becoming a big deal and they are starting to take market share. Because you have to understand, Nikon has been falling behind, and they have been falling behind significantly. To give you a context of that, in 2020 their market share is below Fuji. Let that sink in. So fundamentally they are not doing well, and it's up to them. It's like they are creating bad products and people are getting over it. It's like, yeah, I get it, your color science are awesome, your lenses are awesome, it's just that there has to be a camera behind it to use that amazing things. That part is lacking, so it's not doing well. And the biggest hurdle started to happen for Canon is that randomly people in Olympics started to use Sony equipment, and that's a very big blow. The moment I saw in like 2020 Olympic that has been postponed and now is active, they are utilizing the swimming pool kind of system, underwater system. They have camera equipments for that. That is now switched to Sony. That is a very big deal. A big sponsor as Olympic event goes to from a like say Canon to Sony. That's a very big blow to a company, and that is something that people will look at it as like take it seriously, including Canon. Canon looked at it is like whoa, because you have to understand that there are two types of consumer. Basically, you have consumer who don't think about money, meaning there's big puppies, basically Olympic news agencies, sports agencies, big puppies. Sony is only starting to take those big puppies, and they are also taking the small puppies, so they are running out of market share. So that is a serious issue, and Canon is starting to notice that. And you have to understand, Sony, from a semiconductor technology point of view, they are much ahead, simply because Sony semiconductor is multiple generation ahead of whatever Canon can do, because Sony is largest supplier of image sensors at this point in time, from car dash cam to security cameras to industrial cameras to, I think they have also have a division that works for aerospace industry. So be mindful, from semiconductor point of view, Sony is way ahead. However, why Sony has not successfully replaced Canon if they are that ahead? They have two Achilles heel. Now, one Achilles heel, it's a very expensive problem that they have to solve, is their IBIS is just not good. Canon took their time with IBIS development, and once they came out, it was damn good. People are like, damn, Sony does have IBIS. It's not horrible, but it's also not good. It's like, not great, not terrible. Canon, I got this. Canon IBIS is like, I got this, fam. Now that is the amazing thing. So fundamentally, whoever needs IBIS, they're like, shut up and take my money. Flat out, right there, Sony lost the industry. And then the actual reason why Sony never became the god tier is because their UI is garbage. Their UI is Japanese ego garbage. Meaning, Japanese people have this ego. It's like, if this is hard for you, don't buy this. And people are like, okay, I will not buy this. That's the reality of it. Like, this sort of bad garbage should not have been permitted anything after 2015. It's like they have touchscreen, but you can't touch the menu. Why? Because Sony ego. Now, anybody who knows Sony is basically past history of Sony Corporation, they have done this sort of thing with Betamax. Like, literally, Radio Corporation of America was like, bro, please increase the recording limit, because people get their they had 40-minute recording time on Betamax, around 44 minutes, and the reason was because that's what was used by television commercials. Commercial as in like your 40 more minutes of recording, and then you had minutes of advertisement, then the total was 1 hour slot. So Sony was like, hey, people was using my pro end equipment that was different variant of Betamax, and it was only for 44 minutes, and it was happy for, good enough for industry. It would be happy for the consumer, and if nobody could even teach them, it's like, bro, there is advertisement, so that 44-minute is not good enough. Betamax, they had higher quality than VMX. Like, be mindful, they were flat out had higher quality than basically VHS, but they lost the market simply because they never listened to the customer. So Sony has a history of that, where they're like, I will go bankrupt, but I will never listen to you. So this does ring true. So I'm genuinely surprised whoever was the engineer, they must have fired or exterminated who built Sony A7S3. It's like, it does not have any cripple hammer. It's like, how? It's like, this is not acceptable. And many very good news agencies talked about this. It's like, how the heck Sony had 8-year head start and still Canon started to take market share in mirrorless department, simply because user interface. And Canon does do user interface very well. I have bought this Canon 800D. This was same time released for us a few years ago, at the same time as like Nikon 5300, and 5300 was like 5300, 5500, these sort of series were there. It was better, flat out. Nikon had bit better image quality, bit better color reproduction, but I still chose Canon. Why? Canon had user interface that I could use, meaning I can go into live view and I can see real-time preview. That was possible back in that day in Canon. Nikon never did that, and reality was here. Canon became the big dominant. Sony is failing because of that user interface. Like, first thing people look at it is like, I can't deal with this. So that's the reality. They have to fix this. Now I get it. IBIS will take millions of dollars. UI will take 1 month and few engineers. And they're like, they will never learn. They'll rather go bankrupt, but rather to learn. So it is like a Sony's history. Like, they did it with Betamax, they did it with Magic Gate, they did it with PlayStation Portable. Again, Sony has a history of that. So at this point in time, Canon can easily beat Sony if they start to do trickle down. What they have done with this camera, if they started to trickle it down, for example, removing the 30mm, removing arbitrary limits. It's like, you can't do this. No, remove that. It's like, don't have this sort of garbage where it's like, we can do this, but what if we don't allow you to do this? No, just let your equipment breathe. If your equipment can do it, let it do it. So if they actually do that, they can easily replace this. Then there will be history books we will read, in 2021 Olympics there was Sony and then it disappeared. So that's the whole thing. But Sony is making some good progress. Again, if they ever let go of their Japanese ego, maybe they can fix this, hopefully, but I will put that odds to 10%. So this was my presentation on basically Canon EOS R3. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.